Hello Citroen fans. I'm doing this video because adjusting the rear brake shoes on a Citroen DS, this is Citroen DS, is a bit different to normal brake shoes. I've always just thrown in the brake shoes and they seem to self-adjust and that's that. But I was getting braking a bit like that, as a sort of on-off braking. And it turned out to be the rear shoes weren't, it felt like the drums were warped or something, but in fact it was just that the shoes hadn't been adjusted. So I'm now proceeding to adjust the shoes and wanted to show you how to do it, because just because I can. So here's, first of all, I just isolated oh no, you need a blanking thing, which you might not have, but anyway, that this one here I undid to isolate the rear brakes so they weren't working, and after blocking this off with this one, I went for a drive and the sort of bumpy braking had stopped, so it showed me that it was the rear brakes. I looked at the drums, which were perfectly round, measured them, and they were perfectly round, so it seems as if the previous person didn't adjust the shoes as you're supposed to in the manual. The importance, I think, of adjusting these shoes is that Citroen designed it, as far as I can tell, to make the shoes last longer. So they're not floating shoes, they are fixed in one place, but you can adjust them in more than one area or more than one place. I'm just going to show you on the drum here. First of all, at the top here, you've got an adjusting nut on the back, just here, and if you can see that. Okay, and that, if I put a spanner on it, will turn this adjusting cam, like that. I don't know whether you can see that. Am I pointing in the right direction? Hopefully. Okay, you can see that moving a little bit. Alright, so that adjusts the shoes, which are there, in and out. But at the bottom, down here, there's also, there we go, just here, two other places where you can adjust. Now what happens is that on the shoe itself there's this nut, and that nut is concentric or eccentric if you ask me, but if you look at the back of it, God, it's hard. Right, if you look at the back of it, it's hard to tell, but it's not sitting in the middle of that circle. So when this is in position on the brake hub here, or the back plate, by adjusting it, where's the picture gone? Where are we? Come on. Right, by adjusting this left and right, it moves the shoe in and out. Okay, so you've got adjustment at the bottom and at the top, and it seems as if it's quite important to get the brake lining touching pretty evenly all the way round, so you can adjust it in both these places. Now what I've also had to make, which apparently is necessary, so it says it in the manual, is this hideous monstrosity of a thing. Sorry about the shaky video. Right, it's this thing. Okay, and I just welded a bolt through a hole there, got another hole further up to go on one of the wheel studs, and then some sort of angle with a bolt going through it. The idea being that I can locate this. Where's the picture gone? Right, I can locate this on the hub here, and when the brake linings are in place, I can spin this round using the using that screw in the end to touch against the pad, so I can work it all the way round, making sure it's touching the pad pretty evenly all the way. I think there's something like 0.1 of a millimetre, you'll have to look in your manual, 0.1 of a millimetre further away at the top here than the bottom. Okay, but what the manual's saying is, before you take the drum off, adjust the top of the shoe so they're just touching lightly, enough so that you can get the drum off. And then once you've taken the drum off, you can use that point as a reference and adjust the bottom out to match the top by 0.1 of a millimetre or whatever it was. So it's a little bit more complicated than it would seem. I would suggest you, if you are getting the sort of bumpy braking like I was getting, unless you can be bothered to make some tool like I've made, probably better off taking it to a DS workshop, because they're not quite straightforward as normal drum brakes that I've adjusted in the past. The other thing I wanted to mention was that the shoes look the same, but one of the linings is slightly longer. Okay, on the back here of these two, it's going to be, yeah, the top one is slightly longer. I'm very sorry about the quality of this video, but the longer lining goes on the front, all right, nearest the front of the car. And in my case, the longer lining was on the back of the drum, which probably also wasn't helping. So I might do another little video as I make progress, and keep it up. Cheers, bye.